It's funny because, you know, after watching you so much, I know everyone says this. You feel already like my best friend. You haven't even talked to me.
Awesome.
It's too funny.
Right on.
The funniest.
I like your decorating.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, like you,
Yeah.
I like to paint. And
Uh-huh.
I've got something interesting to show you too. You'll love this because you've just done a video on elementals. I make these mermaids, and so
Awesome.
isn't it cute?
Wow, right on.
I got it especially to show you. You'll love this one too. This is the Marilyn Monroe mermaid.
Ooh, she's jazzy.
Isn't she?
Now, what do you do with those?
Oh, I just made them for myself, my little mermaid totem, you know, and yeah, because I love mermaids. So yeah.
Great.
So I've got so many things I want to cover today. My first thing too is, you'll love this. I feel like, you know, in the last couple of weeks, I feel like I've been on Planet Janine, because I was walking around here and I bumped into this older lady who's 17. She's lovely. She was chatting to me, and she just said out of the blue, and Janine said blah 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 blah. So she brought you up out of the blue in conversation, and then I'm watching a video, and on the video I'm just watching, and they say, and Janine's given me my sanity, because, you know, she's got this vision, you know, version of what, you know, what's happening, and this is what I think, and, you know, so everywhere I'm going, it's Janine, Janine, Janine.
Awesome. I love it.
So I'm calling it Planet Janine.
Right on. All the way in Australia, Planet Janine. That's pretty cool.
I think because your energy resonates with Australians as well.
I do. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, very much, very much. So I've got lots and lots of things I want to cover. The very first thing is, you know, I just want to say it's a real honor to be able to have your time. I know that you're incredibly busy and in great demand, so I'm really deeply honored and grateful to have this time with you. And I'm going to have to talk fast because I've got so many things I want to talk about. But, so welcome, Janine. I want to go into some ways that we can help Australia at the moment. I want to discuss some ways that we can be constructive in our tools, resources to shift the paradigm of what's happening currently. You know, you've talked about it so many times, and you've been such a great support for Australia, Janine. So it's, you know, great to have you on board with this discussion. So, you know, as we know, there's a great amount of fear in Australia. I'm wondering if our convict roots, you know, as we were colonised by, you know, with bringing convicts in, if that sort of fear that was brought in when they came in and colonised Australia is still somehow rooted in the environment, in the feelings here, and we're going through this to clear that as well, because it's maybe part of our ancestry.
Yeah, I think you're right on.
Yes.
And the other reason what you guys are going through, the really most ridiculous things, it's like you're the ground zero.
It is.
And I know there's a few other places very similar, so I'm not discounting them, but Australia has absolutely been really ground zero. And it's because they make a lot of this there. So that's the party drug, and it's next to a bad card. So otherwise, this is a wonderful celebration card, but not if it's next to negative cards. So a lot of it has to do with how much activity was going on there as well. Right. Okay, so they had to really come in there, clean things up. So some of those lockdowns, don't forget, I really believe that you got a shadow government working on. I know they're letting these people run roughshod over you, okay, but I got a feeling it's going to turn out to your advantage in the big picture. It sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, it's going to be worth all the trouble.
Oh, thank you. You know, your continual optimistic, positive, and built on, you know, your gifts and your skills, beliefs in this way have been a constant source of encouragement and people not losing hope. So, you know, that is a wonderful thing that you've given to the collective. The thing that I wonder too is because, as well as, you know, you're saying it's the party substance you're talking about, but on top of that also, you know, you've got things like ULURU. Now, ULURU is the umbilical cord for the world. It's like a birthing canal. So the birthing, the birthing energy and the solar plexus energy as well comes through ULURU. Now, ULURU, I've got a description here. Ayers Rock, a massive sandstone formation in Central Australia, is the centre of solar plexus chakra of Earth. It is considered the umbilical cord that feeds energy to all living things. So because it's this birthing canal, it's sort of birthing the energy for the globe as well, for the planet. And so what starts here peters out and goes to the rest of the world as well, perhaps, potentially. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what I pulled while you were talking was, but a lot of elites really like to tap into that energy and abuse it or use it for their own gain. Somehow there's an abundance that comes out of that energy, or they know how to. It's like they're milking it or something.
Well, this is what I want to do today with you. I want to turn it around and utilize some of those symbols and some of those things that they use for the good to be able to work to better our situation here in Australia. But before I get to that, I wanted to ask you also about a very interesting person in Australian folklore. His name was Ned Kelly. Have you heard of him?
No.
No. So he was an Australian bushranger, but he was considered for many people a bit like Robin Hood, where he was Irish and his family were Irish, and they were standing up against corrupt tyrannical authority, the policemen, the constables at that time. And, you know, there was a narrative that he was standing up for the common man as well. And he's very big in Australian folklore history. And I've got a lot of connections with Ned Kelly. Funnily enough, my ex-husband, his relatives are in the history books as being held up by Ned Kelly. They were hawkers, and they took pots and pans to, you know, to different towns, and he held them up. So that's actually in the books. I also had a part as an extra in the recent Ned Kelly movie. I was chosen out of hundreds of people were auditioning for this. It was on the news, and they picked about 30, 40 people, and I was one of them. So I was in this, it's called The History of the Kelly Gang, and it just came out, it had Russell Crowe, and, you know, wow. So there's that connection. And then the business that we have also has the name there that we just inherited, his name, Ned Kelly.
No. What is your business?
Ned Kelly's Pizza.
I love it.
I know. So this is making a stand for the, you know, for the average Australian, for justice, basically.
Yeah.
And so can I ask you, what is the connection on maybe a past life or ancestral to do with Ned Kelly? I'll be fascinated. And what qualities perhaps can Australians imbue and take from Ned Kelly and work with them at the moment to shift what's happening in Australia?
You had a couple of lifetimes with him.
Yeah.
One when he was Nick Kelly, but you guys did something else another lifetime when you were both two other people.
Okay.
So that's interesting. But the one when he was Nick Kelly, right? Because what year was this? This was
1880. He was actually executed for what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was the last person hanged actually in Victoria. Was the first person born in Victoria to be hanged.
Wow. So in wherever it was he was from, your mom and you lived, your mom was just barely making it. But she would often, and on the urgings of you as a little boy, so you were a little boy, you would often bring him food. So you'd sneak him food. And so he must have been by this time a wanted criminal.
Yes.
Because I feel like you made him more comfortable in a time when he really needed it. And it was, you would take, you weren't fibbing to your mom. You actually told her what was going on, but you guys were helping him. With your mom's help, you made him more comfortable, and you would run errands for him and helped him, just get a place to stay and hide out. So it must have been towards the end of his days here, or towards the end of his, before he got captured or whatever.
He was very hunted toward the end of his.
Yeah. So I feel like you and your mother, so you were a little boy, were really dear to him before he passed over. You were one of the last couple to really help him out.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. That really resonates. That's really beautiful. Makes me feel a bit emotional, actually. Thank you. So that's beautiful. So he's, and the qualities that he has at the moment, I think, someone who's not scared to stand up for his rights and to do and to not comply, even though he had a lot against him at that time. You can just imagine the energy of the cabal, through the policemen at that time. So those qualities I think Australians need to take on board at the moment.
Yeah. So I'm asking him if he'd like to channel a message to Australians, and he did. So he's saying, the most important thing is to live in your own. This might sound a little delusional, but even though everything's mayhem out there and it looks crazy, try to find a thing to focus on that you're happy about, or something good about your life, or a vision of what could be, and not stay in your fear or let the fear buttons, because all of this is going to go away.
Yes.
Okay. So, but you have to ride out the storm. And the way to ride out the storm is you stay grounded in your non-compliance in whatever way you can get away with that. You know what I'm saying? Don't put yourself in danger or anything. I'm not telling you that, but I am saying in any way you can, in any small way, say no to tyranny. And in a way, the universe helped you do that.
Yes.
Right?
That's so true.
So just being honest. And when they do ask you, just really tell them everything, because you'll be on the news.
Yes.
Good for you. And even if some people will think you're nuts, guess what? A lot of people in their heart will know you're telling the truth. In your heart, a lot of people know in their heart, in their soul, that this is ludicrous, frankly.
Yeah.
So a lot of people might wake up just even hearing that you, unbeknownst to you, ended up in that position where you get to tell your truth. All of that's really good. So in any way that people can, so stay for truth. Okay. You don't have to go out and pillage other businesses to do it, or get violent or anything, but just stay rooted in truth and repeat. Like anytime I get asked why I'm not wearing a mask, or, am I not complying to the rule the door says I have to wear, I always say, okay, so you need me to virtue signal the mask? Is that what you're asking me? Because read on the box. So I go through my whole spiel, right? And if I really need to get groceries and they really won't let me in, I will put the mask on, but not until I tell them exactly why I didn't want to.
Yes.
And why they shouldn't.
Yes.
Okay. Because in Calgary, they got all weird again, right? Because I think we're getting to the end of the movie and everybody's clamping down again just before the whole thing just blows sky high.
Wow. And I think
that's what I think.
I hear you. I think you mentioned even in 10 days, something might shift within that period of time.
Yeah.
And it's interesting symbolically that today is the 9th of the 11th. Well, 11th of the 9th. For us, it's 11th. 9/11, today here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, it is already there.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're not there yet, but we're evening here just before that.
Yes.
But he also says this is going to be worth all the trouble. Yes, it feels like trouble, but it's not going to be the devastating. The good news is you're not literally going to be locked down for the rest of your lives like they're trying to tell you you are, and you're not literally going into communism, which it certainly looks like you are. Do you know what I mean? Like stay grounded, knowing you still have rights. You're going to exercise them if you get a chance. If you get a ticket, take it to court, like go to the court date and just speak your truth. Because the more people that just speak their truth non-violently, but absolutely speak up for themselves, take back your power in every little way you can. And just be patient. It's coming to an end.
Fantastic. Thank you. The fines are not successful anyway when they put them through. They can't make them stick.
That's what I mean. Like when you actually challenge this, it doesn't stand.
No.
And that's why everybody needs to make everybody jump the hoops. They're making you jump the hoops.
Yes.
You got nothing else to do. Jump the hoops.
Yeah. And when you said that you find the way that you can to bring that joy in and keep your frequency high, I just got the most adorable puppy. And I tell you, it's like going into the love zone. So it's totally worked for me.
Oh, that's wonderful.
He's so adorable. Okay, so what I wanted to ask now is, in terms of, when we spoke about ULURU, if we put our feet on the ground and we connect to that beautiful energy of ULURU, if all of us who are listening here do that regularly, that's going to really empower us and potentially empower Australia. Is there something that ULURU would like to share with us about connecting with it to empower the light and the benevolent energies on this country, in this country?
Wow. So sort of a similar message as that fellow was giving us.
Yes.
So this is, don't stay locked in. So what not to do? Locked in the past and going over and over everything you've lost or think you've lost.
Yes.
That's not going to work. So lamenting about the past is keeping this guy in, like, he doesn't look like he's having much fun, does he?
No.
Okay. So going over and over what's not working instead of looking at, okay, what do we have and what can we work with and make everything bigger. So when anything good happens, yup it up, talk about it, tell people about it, like bring more abundance to what feels dreary right now, instead of going over and over. Like you can discuss practically, okay, the hardships, but don't stay in them and beat yourself up with them. Sure. Right? Because we tend to do that. That's a self-loathing thing humans do. We go over and over, and it's almost like melancholy is like something we enjoy or something. It's like, no. Right away, turn it into, okay, what can we do with this? What are we learning from this? What do we think we're teaching ourselves with this? Turn it around into something you can work with. Spin it.
Right.
Just like the media spins everything to their total advantage, you do the same, only spin it to something good.
Fantastic.
Speak about things as if they're going in your direction and try to find how they could and talk about it like that, instead of going over and over all the stuff you're having to put up with, because you're just going to keep that energy right in front of you.
That's right. Fake it till you make it with the positive energy. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So the ULURU, if we connect to ULURU, is that going to empower us? Like if we put our feet on the ground and ask for to connect through maybe the energy in the ground, the ley lines?
So ULURU energy is saying that you can imagine it under your feet. If you actually can make it to the place, that's awesome. Yeah. But even if you can't, you can literally create a little spot in your house that it is a sort of a bit of an altar to it. You can draw a picture of what you think it might look like. You can find a stone that you're going to tell that stone, you're going to assume that stone somehow connects you to this place that you're talking about, right? So I like to make altars, but not everybody does. Like literally, yeah, I love it, right? So, but not everybody does, but you can make a vision board that's all the pictures you can find about what it might look like, and keep it with you. And every time you need to connect with that life force energy, it'll come to you, it says.
Perfect.
It's with everybody, it's within you. It's not apart from you.
No, that's right.
Yep.
And that's a gift of manifestation that we've forgotten that we have, humanity. But I'm wondering too if it has a divine feminine energy. But see, what I think has happened in Australia is there's a very strong patriarchal, bit of a misogynistic male energy imbalance that has happened. And so the divine feminine is one of the things now that is being liberated, that's been severely suppressed. And it's very ironic because you can see it in the literal jailing of the political prisoner MS, who is a head of a party, who's just been put, her name's Monica, into jail, you know, literally. So, and that's totally the suppression of the divine feminine. So
Yeah.
That's symbolic, I think, of the overall energies that are being suppressed in this country. So what, maybe we could ask the cards, how do we empower the divine feminine more in this country so that that energy can help shift this, the fear and this male control suppression that's happening?
Okay. I got an off-world energy from that place you were talking about too. I got, it literally connects or can bring people somewhere, and then not, yes, it's a portal.
ULURU,
And
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So take advantage of that. Yes. Yes. Maybe drawing in those higher cosmic family energies, galactic energies that can work with us and help us. Yes. Perfect.
So there's one of the best divine feminine cards. Like she's a ancient, like pagan type woman. So when women and men were considered equal, right? Because we know that Christianity definitely was like, not Jesus. Jesus would have never agreed to that, by the way. But Christianity, the corporation of it, and what became Catholicism, and then later all kinds of different Christian sects that were actually nothing like anything Jesus would have wanted, by the way. Anyway, those were used, okay, to actually take away the divine feminine.
Yes.
By leaving out many books in the writings of what came to be called the Bible, leaving out everything divine feminine, and taking out so much of actually the human history parts.
That's why it's called his story, because it's his story.
You know it. You know it, right? And they turned the divine feminine into this elusive, the Holy Ghost. Right. So then you have two males, you have Jesus and his father. Okay. And the Holy Ghost. Okay. What a riot. That's just a riot. Okay. Jesus came out of a vagina. Excuse me. Yeah. So did every single human on the earth plane. If you're hanging out, unless you were literally created in a lab, which of course we know there's some of that going on now too. Yeah. But for the most part, most of us came out of a female body. Yes. Okay, so that makes the feminine pretty divine, if you personally want my opinion.
I agree, 100%. And I think that if we can rebalance that in Australia, that's going to really shift a lot of the energy.
Yeah, and something about children as well. So the feminine and also the feminine that protects the children. So the mama bear feminine, and that could be in males too, because some men are very mama bear, you know what I mean, where they want to protect children, really have a really strong, and there's of course papa bear kind of energy too. So anybody protecting the children in a nurturing, feminine, loving way. Okay, because we did ask about the divine feminine. So how to get it back. Okay, let's have a look. So we've got 7 and the Knight. Well, it looks like they're really rising up in Australia. the divine feminine feels like it's rising up, and they're the ones taking, more of them are taking this whole thing to task than the masculine. Thank you very much. Nothing against guys, by the way. And I know there's a lot of great men also taken up the task of speaking out, but there's a whole lot of women doing it too. So this whole movement of we do not consent to this madness, okay, is often taken up by women, and no different in Australia, it looks like. So to notice and really get behind and support those, and that includes this woman, it sounds like, that just got taken to jail.
Yes, I've tried to help in ways that I can. So yeah, if we can all do something, that would be great.
It's karmic, and it's just time, so that this is all about timing. Yeah. So it's karmic and timely that the divine this is the time for the divine feminine to take her place again.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Now I have a beautiful story to share with you. You'll love this, because you know your show is called Sending Ravens, and you've got your beautiful connection with ravens, and I have a connection with owls, and and they're so beautiful. And oh my God, this just happened the other day, Janine, and I wondered if you could do reading on it. And the reason I'm saying is not to personally necessarily just get information, but I'm just wanting to put out the point that you can utilize animal energies and bird energies to also shift, you know, what's happening here in Australia. And it's a really powerful way that we often don't really utilize to be able to work with nature and to shift energy. And so what happened was a girlfriend of mine just lives across just a minute away over some water from me. I can walk to a place in 3 minutes. She heard this flapping, and this giant white barn owl was being attacked by birds, and it flew into her apartment, and she ended up holding it, this beautiful, magnificent barn owl. She was holding it, looking at it in the face, and then it left her apartment and flew out. And, you know, what an incredibly unique thing. And then literally a week later, I'm coming out of my house, and I hear this flapping in the eaves just under my house as I come outside it. And there's again this giant white barn owl flapping, and they only usually come out at night as well. So this is in broad daylight twice. And so it's flapping, and I come inside. I didn't want to scare it, but I came out again to have another look, and it's flapping again, this absolutely magnificent creature. And then it starts to fly off, and again there are these other birds trying to attack it. So I wonder what's going on with that barn owl, because and then a girlfriend sent me a photo of someone who had just a big barn owl landing on her arm. And then there was a story in the news here about somebody seeing a barn owl in broad daylight. And what does that mean? So there's something going on here with barn owls. Oh. And they're so incredibly spectacular, these beautiful, beautiful birds.
It's definitely in support of and protective of humans. That's a protective,
yes,
like all that whole circle around that woman there.
Yes.
So something coming full circle as well. So there's a symbology to it that this whole deception and lie that we've been living for literally probably hundreds for sure, if not thousands of years. Right, with everything inverted and everything we thought was good actually is our enemy, like governments, we're finding out, healthcare, even like people that honestly went into healthcare because they care about people are now actually been trained, and some of them don't even realize, to be minions of what is like unbelievable repression through the excuse of health.
Absolutely. Well, I can give you an example. A girlfriend of mine, she just had a flatmate that had this, and she'd never had an irregular period, and she started having a really badly irregular period, and for the first time in her entire life, she got really, really severe pain. So she had to go to a pharmacy to get some paracetamols, which she's never you know, taken before,
Yep.
hardly ever. And she told them, and they said, oh, have you had this? And she said, no, but she said her flatmate had. And did they think it was affecting her? And they were absolutely horror stricken. They all stepped back, the pharmacist and the people behind, you know, that were serving. They all stepped back, and then they started being quite sort of antagonistic towards her. So there's a level of conscious acknowledgement there when they reacted in that emotional way, that they know what's going on and they're in a sense compliant, or they wouldn't have that negative emotional trigger with what she's done. So that people know unconsciously, subconsciously, even if they're not you know, telling themselves that they know, you know, in a conscious way, they do know, and they all need to stop and stop consenting and stand up.
Yeah.
So thank you. Is there a particular bird that we can work with at the moment to help shift this paradigm? I mean, a bird, for example, that comes to mind, which I saw the other day when I was sitting here, flew past my window, was an eagle. So what bird symbolizes this, you know, this liberation, or this, that we can ask this spirit bird to come and work with us to help Australia at this time?
I actually get anyone you personally connect with will help energetically. Like, who would have thought a barn owl? In fact, owls are known, like a lot of people, they've tried to make owls into something bad, which we absolutely know they're not. They're deeply mysterious in a way, and they hunt at night, and they have what they call deceiver feathers, but they're trying to take that symbology of the owl for themselves, they being the dark cult. And you know what I mean by that.
Yep. I mean, the owl is very wise, and the other thing too is, like, you know, you think of a peacock and they say, oh, peacock feathers are bad luck when you put them in the house. I think originally the peacock was a symbol of the divine feminine that was revered in Egypt. And so it's exactly the reverse of what they say. They want to disempower that energy.
You know it. You know it. I also get the owl was symbolizing the part of the feminine that's really intuitive and knows and sees beyond and can't be deceived, because owls can't be deceived. They will see even in the dark.
I wondered if there was a divine feminine connection. So thank you for corroborating that, because I wondered about that. Perfect. What about animals? I mean, again, it might be a situation where your own spirit animal is the one that works with you and helps you. But is there potentially any particular animal, spirit animal in Australia that we can utilize the symbology and the energy of that animal to work on shifting all this current repression in Australia?
Interesting. Well, instead of talking about animals, it decided to tell me something really interesting here.
Okay.
So I'm going to indulge the energy here.
Perfect. Love it.
Yeah, it wants to say that there's something going on in the next couple of days, could even be over the weekend, that's going to look like a really bad situation, a false Flappy thing.
In Australia?
Yeah, this is I think it's going to be everywhere, but Australia will have its own version of it that'll look like, oh my goodness, these guys are fully in charge. It can't possibly. Turns out it's absolutely these guys. Okay, so these guys are my good guy card. So you are going to need to wait it out. And don't let yourself get gut punched by something. Like, we're getting gut punched by all of these claims that they're going to have this passport. Okay, it's completely illegal. None of it will stand up eventually in court. Everybody's lining up to take it to court. Lots of really great People are getting together in groups to take these things. There's so much going on in the background you don't even know about. Supreme Court even heard quite a few situations in the US where they had to rule that actually they can't prove there is a pandemic. Do you know what I mean? There is no pandemic. Okay, it's they're falsifying information. It's been largely exaggerated, blah, blah, blah. So there's no reason, none of this stands. So everybody has to remember that. So no matter how, that's why it seems ludicrous. Okay, why do you think it seems so like this is crazy? Why? Because they're pushing all your buttons. I know it sounds mean, but it's really important that we never, never, never forget this lesson. We have to never let elites and higher ups. It's like my parents still think the Pope's a good guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, my dad thinks he's a great guy too.
Right. Right. And
Say
Fauci, they think Fauci's a good guy. It's like, are you kidding?
I've got to say
He's a
something
criminal.
about his name. Foul is fake, false, and chi is energy. So fake energy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
nasty. Yeah.
So interesting. Yeah, I hope that I don't get the algorithms for that one, but what I said, I might have to bleep that one out.
Okay, sorry.
The name that I said before. That's all right.
Do what Guy does, just put it in writing across.
Yes, that's a great
and bleep it out. Yeah, that's what he does to me when I do bad things like I just did. Sorry.
That's okay. It's pretty hard not to. Okay, so you know how the dark utilize symbols for their own ends a lot, and they said that will be their undoing symbols as well, because that would be how we recognize them. Is there any, and I know we have to be careful, and it's also about the intention placed behind it, but are there any really positive, benevolent, energetic symbols that perhaps we can, in Australia, we can visualize or work with that might be helpful? Is that something that could be useful at the moment in Australia? And I guess it's not only Australia. I mean, all these things we're talking about can also be ways that other places around the world can look at utilizing energy as well.
Well, I'm getting more of a tarot archetype, but we could probably figure out what it's trying to say as far as, so the archetype to go with is sword, maybe held up sword. So she has really good boundaries and sets herself free by absolutely staying with her knowing and speaking her truth, regardless what's going on around her. She'll speak her truth. She doesn't care if she looks crazy or looks like, you know what I mean? Like, actually, when you think about it, when you speak the truth about the whole situation, you're the only one making sense. Everybody else is the one that's a nutter, really. You know what I mean? Like when you go in a grocery store and everybody's got these things on, and yet they're not really they don't work. No. They're not built for any kind of stopping anything in, really.
No, I just don't get it. To me, it's like going to another planet and seeing people function in a way that I don't understand.
It doesn't make any sense. So it's a virtue signal. It's literally only for the comfort of, or to pretend something's okay when it isn't. If there really was the P word that they say is going on, they would never let you just be people are throwing them on the road. They would be like hazardous waste. They'd have hazardous waste stations for those things. And we know that a piece of paper over your mouth is not stopping anything. This is just absurd. And also we know that these things viruses, if that's what it's supposed to be, doesn't actually move around like that. And certainly not this one. So it's like, okay, come on, you guys. None of it makes any sense. Let's use our common sense.
Exactly. Well, I have another topic that might be useful to tell people about, and maybe the cards can give us a bit more information, but there's actually a tool that you can use where you can talk to the soul of something and shift it. So it's like you go in metaphysically, and for example, the collective of the police, you can go in and talk to the soul of the police and ask it find its humanity and find its ability to have empathy with another human being, and to not be antagonistic or aggressive or buy into that dark energy, because we are paying them and they are using their power against everyday citizens. I mean, it's just horrifying to see some of the acts that they're currently involved in. So when you talk to the soul of the police, is that a powerful way to shift the energy? Because sometimes it's like I had this dream, and this relates exactly what I'm saying. It's like I was in this dream. I had a woman in a room next door to me, and she was screaming. She was being beaten. That sounds awful, but she was being beaten by her partner, and she was going, help, and it was getting worse and worse. And so I was going around to tell people, and I was saying, please, can we help this person? Can we help this person? Somebody listen to me. And everyone had their ears blocked like this or like this, and they weren't hearing what I was saying. And I was trying to get help. And to me, that's the situation with trying to talk to people about it, and they just like this, and they're like this, and they won't hear. And I'm trying to talk, and it's a bit like with the police too, trying to get that message to them. So when you can't hear it on the physical, there's a way that you can go in on the inner and metaphysically talk to the soul of that group of people.
So I'm getting that you're a teacher of this method, and that you have an opportunity to teach a group of people to do that. So if you haven't already started doing that, the universe would like to give you the position.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
So absolutely, it's something, and it's necessary to do.
Yes.
If there was any way you could start a group of like-minded, even one or two of you getting together, teach other people the method that you're talking about, because you've developed this over lifetimes. So it's absolutely a thing.
Thank you. And I am trying to help in multiple, myriad ways.
Yeah.
But sure, I can definitely do that. And you can do it, obviously with, politicians, you can do it with the media, you can do it with everything. And it's really powerful. So looking at, and I know you always talk about envisioning the positive of because I'd like to finish with that, because I think that's so profound. Australia, I've been told, is going to be a little bit of a potentially a way shower for the new earth, the new world. And we have a place here called Byron Bay, and they've talked about it's going to be a huge light city, maybe like a crystalline light city, or a city of light. And there will be, cities of light around the world. So how does Australia look for you when we get past this transition time, so people can have something to, when we talk about it, it allows them to envision it even more strongly and have it in their consciousness. So what does Australia look like when we get past this? Is it just going to be the most beautiful? Because we have so many magnificent things in Australia in terms of nature and, qualities of Australians. They have some lovely qualities as well. Then they're not in ego, a lot of them, they're very sort of got a funny sense of humor and a lot of great qualities. So what does it look like, Janine?
Okay. There's going to be a lot of really independent areas that are calling themselves maybe communities, like brand new communities. The world encircles it, but so independence. So people will choose various different communities. They might even choose new names for their communities. I feel like everything gets broken up a lot more as far as so the whole globalist thing really goes out the window. Okay. And I've been seeing this everywhere. There's a lot of small communities that get together and make their own rules and their own, or guidelines, let's call them guidelines or whatever, and decide to govern themselves. And some areas will govern very differently than others. And you'll be freely allowed to choose what kind of community suits you. Right? Some places won't suit various people and other places will, right? So it feels like the whole idea will go back to like I feel like things will get reused a lot more. This is another theme I've been getting. Like I feel like people will be sharing and using things. So if people will learn to fix things again.
Yes.
People will learn to, because for a while, with all the striking and the situations in the ocean with the big ships that are, cargo ships and whatever, and all of these things coming together to create shortages of things, stuff. Okay, we're going to realize we don't need a whole lot of stuff. We don't need as much stuff as we thought we needed. So people are going to rethink what's important, and really, really big companies a lot of them are going by the wayside. And the reason they're going by the wayside is because they've been run by the dark cult. So if anybody does end up, it could take years again to create really big corporations and whatever. They won't look like they look now, because we were not going to allow that again, because it's dangerous really for humans to make a company like so powerful that it could do this to us.
That's
really.
right. I think there's a direct correlation between how full you are inside to how much you have in the external. So the more full you are inside, the less you have in the external, and the less full you are inside, the more you have in the external.
There's going to be tribunals to be reviewed, because some of them have already gone through, and tribunals going forward, and some people won't like it. That's going to be hard. Okay, but justice is coming for a lot of the players that have been up to this for hundreds of years. But I mean, in their lifetimes or whatever, like a lot of our politicians, a lot of our spiritual leaders, supposed leaders, a lot of our elites, all over, you name it. And in that, of course, includes royal families.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so they're going to be all up, like they're already being processed on the back burner, and a lot of people don't know about it. So a lot of the work that I believe the Alliance / White Hats are doing in the background is preparing us and giving us something to point. They're going to point back at and say, okay, this is what they had planned, and this is why we had to deal with them this way, because it's going to be hard for people to wrap their head around the kind of tribunals that I believe have been going on and what's coming, and how harsh they're going to need to be, because there's no, getting these people to, like, if they've gone as far as to take the life of innocent children for a party substance, and do heinous things and blah, blah, and attend parties where everybody's doing these things to innocent people. Okay. And even know about what's going on in the dumbs and underground, and knowing full well these things happen, and that's where they get their substance. Okay. Guess what? They don't get to live amongst us.
No, we wouldn't.
Dangerous. They're too dangerous.
The thing that I maybe would like to ask in relation to everything you've just talked about is, how do we sort of strengthen ourselves on the inner internally to be able to deal with, because I mean the depth of depravity that's gone on is so deep that we have absolutely no idea how deep it is at this point. Nobody does probably fully, and wouldn't really want to. But how do we, as a most of us are compassionate, empathic, warm human beings who just want the best for one another. How do we steel ourselves and strengthen ourselves on the inner to be able to cope with that sort of information? Because we won't be able to avoid, some of it, and so disturbing.
It will be disturbing. You bet. Look at these two cards together. Talk about disturbing stuff. You don't want to. Some of it you're not going to want to know the details of.
So how we don't want to fracture our own psyche through the being so upset or
certain.
How do we hold our energy in the midst of that?
Certain people can hold it, and certain people, so it depends on your birth chart, to be honest. I did astrology for years and years, and my chart's perfectly poised to, over 35 years. I heard horrific tales, nothing like this, mind you, but maybe a few things that touched on this for sure that's been going on. Even some people that would have been victim to this, but I wouldn't have had the words for it back then. But I did hold and hear over many, many years a lot of tales of woe, let me tell you. And I really do feel like I'm built really well for it because I got super good boundaries and I know what not to listen to. Like, okay, so I get the general gist of what's going on over here, but I'm not going to watch the whole video. I'm definitely not going to watch, the HC video, you know what I'm talking about?
So being really aware of your own.
Be aware of where your boundaries are and understand.
Yeah.
You just have to get the general idea.
Yes.
And trust that it's probably a lot worse than that. And
Yes.
go from there and take good people's word for it who've been on the scene, because a whole lot of people have been on the scene. And guess what? A lot of those alliance workers and people that are cleaning out the dumps, and they're going to need a lot of healing. They're going to need a lot. But if you are the type who could actually counsel people through some of this, not taking people's hardship personally is really, now this is where now you're going to know I'm a Scorpio moon. So I don't take people's hardship personally. And I'll tell you why, because it's what I've been in those dumbs in other lifetimes. I've been one of those children. I've had memories of it and I never knew where to put those memories. And if you look at astrologically my chart, it says literally I've been an enslaved person and abused for a good portion of my lifetimes.
I guess many of us have, really, haven't they? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's probably why we're all here doing this healing work all together at this time. Okay, because I've met a lot of people with those kind of things in their birth chart. Those kind of people can work with it. You can work with it because you're going to heal your own process. All of this happens over lifetimes, and it was all meant to come to where we actually empower ourselves. I know it sounds wild, but everybody, even the bad guys, were meant to be here, and it's all meant to do. This is all meant to be.
Oh, I totally agree. Well, all the things you're saying, I can relate to. I mean, I've been an energy healer for many years, so I've worked with many people, and I had to develop an ability to be in compassionate non-attachment. To things. So you sort of rise above your neutral, but you try and help as much through a space of unconditional love. Yeah.
And listening and being there, a witness, but without feeling sorry for people is actually a big waste of your time. That's a way that is not going to help anybody. Okay. So I personally don't do a lot of feeling sorry for, like, I have empathy.
Doesn't serve them, because then it diminishes their energy.
I serve them by hearing them and holding it and then releasing it and assuming that, you know what, you're going to become wiser and stronger for this. And there's a gem going to happen out of that, because I know that I wouldn't be here today talking to you and having this kind of the energy that I feel like I'm bringing to the whole sort of truth or scene or whatever. I wouldn't have any of it if I hadn't had those horrific lifetimes. I'm prepared for this because I had those. They are the gift out of that is my good boundaries and absolute hold the line ability.
Fantastic. And you do have a wonderful balance of all those things needed at this time. And that's why you've just reached 100K subscribers. Congratulations. Well done. That's brilliant. And you so deserve it. I think just to finish picking a card, if there's anything else that we can help Australia with at this time in terms of information to just shift what this very moment is now in our history, or I don't like that word because it's a patriarchal word, but in this moment in time, what is something that could be constructive for Australia and for anyone who's listening at the moment?
And by the way, I got a drop just when you were talking and on the question you asked about an animal. So this is going to sound almost too obvious, but I actually get dogs right now.
Okay, cool, excellent.
And that's why so many more. so many more people are going to get themselves a dog. Like they're actually going to really help humans. They're designed to help us through with unconditional love, and even through people that have been down in those dumps and lived through some of that dog energy, because they're going to unconditionally love no matter how wounded you are or how much pain you have for something. They will find a way to make you happy and give you a big, doggy kisses. And
yes, well, it's God,
right?
isn't it? God backwards is dog, and that's not an accident. And I think that the energy that they've put, well, my puppies put me in, is just this really beautiful space of being like, it's like you've got a beautiful shield around you energetically. It's a zone of love and trust and unconditional sort of energy, and it sort of in a sense separates you from all the external noise that's going on, and it really is a different space to be in. It's like a beautiful meditation or something like that.
And another thing, I got up to that question you asked. So for Australians, don't be afraid to bring up your truth. You don't have to cram it down people's throats or lecture, okay? But don't be afraid to touch on, and just because you'd be very surprised at how many people are actually thinking the same way you are. So just feel people out, approach the conversation a little bit. Now, I'm not saying go out there and preach to everybody, no, because that's not actually a good way to do it. But just to start talking and say a few things and just test the waters. I did that I had a painter in my house for the last 3 days, because I got a new place, my first house ever. I
know.
Love it.
Oh, that's exciting.
So excited. And it was horrifying colors in here, like oh my goodness, yellow and blue, and a really bad blue too, not just blue, but a bad. So anyway, I've changed the colors to suit me. Somebody might like yellow and blue, but I certainly don't, not with the tones they were. Anyway, and we started chatting, and I just broached the subject of, what I do for a living, because he was curious. He saw that my room with all the lights around the table, and he was wondering what was going on there. So I just explained, but he said, well, what channel? I'll check you out on YouTube. And I said, well, I'm pretty controversial. I'll just say I'm not buying into any of this, kind of mandates. And, everybody knows the government couldn't care less about our health, and why are they busy, doing this? So there's obviously another reason. And that's all I had to say. And he was just a floodgate of absolutely in agreement, didn't know where to look for the information. So I sent him a whole bunch of videos to look up, and he didn't feel like he could talk to anybody about it really. And I told him, actually, there's a huge online presence of people that feel the very same way you do. So, you never know.
Often on Telegram too. I think Telegram's got a lot of those groups.
Yeah, just chat it up. But this guy was, older, maybe didn't go on places like Telegram, just from the feeling I was getting. So sometimes you have to sort of help him along a little. So I sent him video links on his phone. So, fantastic. He'll figure it out.
Well, thank you, Janine. I should say your last name is Mary Jo, but your channels are Sending Ravens and Tarot with Janine, and you also do some wonderful videos with the beautiful Jean-Claude of Beyond Music.
Jean-Claude, I love that guy.
Isn't he gorgeous? And of course, Carly and Julia do wonderful videos with you as well. So I'll put some links below for anyone that wants to really encourage everyone to look at all Janine's videos. And thank you, Janine. I'm just so honoured that you're able to talk to me today and share all your wisdom and your gifts and your skills and your beautiful energy that is a ray of hope and light for many people. Being light that is information too. Light's information and dark is lack of information.
Awesome.
So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, so lovely to chat. Thank you.
Good to chat.